Hello, hello. Good afternoon, everybody. We are at the top of the hour here, so we're going to give it just another minute or two for a couple of our folks to join, and we'll get things started. All right, we've already had quite a few people join since I said that a few moments ago. We're up to about 40 folks. So just as a heads up, we're at the top of the hour. We're going to give it a few more minutes for a couple folks from our team to jump on, and then we'll go ahead and get started. All righty, everybody. So thank you for joining us on our kickoff for the High Priority Open Topics project call here at American Makes. Today we'll be having John Martin, our Director of AM Research, sharing and talking about the project. And with that, I will hand it off to you, John. Go ahead.
Hi, Zane. Thank you for the introduction. Hold on one second. I'm kind of had a conflict with my meetings. All right. I'm gonna go into presentation mode. Is that is, is that still look okay, Zane?
Yep, that is up and running. And then just for everybody that's on the call, if there's any questions that you have as we're going through this, feel free to put them in the chat. John, I believe, will answer as best we can on here, and we'll wrap that up here at the end. Does that work for you, John?
Yes. Yeah, it sounds good.
Perfect. All right. Thanks, guys.
All right. So this project call just had the title High Priority Open Topics for AM, mainly due to the fact that the topics weren't really necessarily related, and then how they came to be about. So I'll get into that. Um, so let's see. So the background for this is the same as Q time. Um, Pretty much the same. So for those of you that heard it, apologies, but this will be slightly different. But basically, back in started in December, I think, but we're approached by some of our government team, and what they wanted to do was basically combine efforts between identifying topics from our members utilizing our RMAG and the working groups, and then they were going to do pretty much the same with the JAMWIG, which is the Joint Additive Manufacturing Working Group within the DoD. So there were two things they wanted us to focus on. One was quality control topics, which generated the Q time project call. And then there was another category, just open topics. So anything goes as far as additive. What are the most high priority things that need to be addressed right now with an additive? So that's what this project call was for, was the open topic portion of that top 10 list, or whatever you want to refer to it as, which is what we're kind of calling it internally. But so what happened is we had several weeks of meetings with our working groups from the RMAG. They put a lot of time and effort into, and we upped the cadence in a lot of cases too, in the communications for those working group meetings, and really just did a concerted effort with all 5 of our working groups over about a 2-month period, trying to generate what we're referring to as a top 10 list in each quality control and open topic categories, to then pass along to the JAMWIG to look over and see what overlap there was. So what we ended up doing was coming up with the working group generating topics, feeding it up to the RMAG leadership, which is just consists of the chairs of the working groups essentially, and then some people from America Makes. And then we sent out a survey back to the working group members, because we really wanted this to be a representation of the broader working group participants within RMAG, and get a pretty big, I guess, broad feedback. We didn't want it to be from a top-down basis. So we sent a survey out with the different options that were generated through the working groups to begin with, sent it back to the working group. So 200 working group members received the survey, and then we got back 70 responses, which was really good, because it was kind of, we were juggling the schedule as best we could, but it was a relatively quick turnaround as far as by the time we got to the voting. And then we had to present it to the JAMWIG, and the JAMWIG needed to have time to do their thing and vote on theirs as well. So that was the background on generating the ideas for these topics. So basically, what this amounted to was, we received back from the JAMWIG 2 topics that they had identified. One was AM repairs for sustainment, which was, I believe, the number 1 overall open topic that was voted on by our working group members. So JAMWIG had a same thing in mind. And then beam shaping was the other, which was, I want to say, around number 10 or 7, maybe it was 5. I don't remember exactly, but it was up there. I mean, it was on the list. But so these had good alignment with one another as far as what the DoD had felt was important, and then industry and academia and such. So those are the 2 topics. Some of the things that we're trying to focus on in general from a high level is, your typical cost reduction, improving production speed, and then just any enhancement in industrial capability. And this is to keep in mind the warfighter needs. So for the repair topic, want to emphasize, and I'll reiterate this a little bit later too, that this is going to be a little more on the mature end, not really looking for exploratory projects, as this has been demonstrated kind of time and time again, but we want to kind of focus more on transition, best practices, successful, generating like a successful case, well-documented case study that includes representative part geometries, inspection, analysis of the results, and confirmation of a good repair that would be able to be accepted in a real life scenario. to aid in transition. And then for the beam shaping, this is going to be, a little lower on the maturity level and more experimental. But we do want to emphasize that it's, obviously there's going to be coupons with the design of experiments and different things like that. But we do want some sort of complex geometry created and investigated as well, whether it's a representative part or some just complex geometry part shapes, basically to, just give an opportunity to look at some of the inconsistencies you might have when um, printing different geometries and your thermal gradients and stuff that might come up. So once again, two topics. Topic one is titled AM repairs for sustainment. Topic two is titled beam shaping. So I'll get into each one here. So AM repairs for sustainment. A couple of the things to focus on: reducing downtime and life cycle costs, and also keep in mind preserving original design and function. So when we're talking about repair for sustainment, repair of existing parts, and then those would need to be qualified on the back end. It's basically trying to um, ensure that the part's going to function in the same way that it was prior to the repair. And one of the big benefits for AM, and just something to keep in mind when drafting a proposal, is looking at how this can address issues like long lead times or obsolete tooling that doesn't exist anymore. Um, so getting back to, looking at repair processes that which a lot of them, I guess, are mature. Some of them, I'm sure there's always research going on here and there, but we want to look at validating repair methodologies, basically that can be in alignment with something that would be able to be qualified, if not qualified during the project would be ideal. And we want team members to focus on application relevant conditions to qualify a part or a representative part, and ensure that the part performance is, meets the same, or yeah, meets the same criteria as it was when it was in use. Or however different ways that you could think of providing that scenario to basically demonstrate that this repair process is at the point of adoption. Um, so with that being said, the scope of this topic, we want to leave it to existing mature materials and processes. So we're not looking for developing new materials or looking at new materials, developing new processes for newer materials that might give some sort of enhancement or benefit or speed. Those are great and of interest, but for this particular topic, that's not something that we're looking at. We're looking at really trying to take all the great work and examples that have been done prior, and really just trying to get it up over into the finish line, into the transition area for wider adoptions. We know this is being used already. And then also that last bullet: responses to this topic shall avoid duplication of efforts of prior American Makes projects. So we have listed in the RFP quite a few. So it's going to be on starting on page 9 and going into, well, I guess they're all listed on page 9, but we have several past America Makes projects that had looked at, either focused on repair or was really, had a heavy overlap with it. And we encourage team members to leverage that information that's on core, build on it if you want. But we're asking people to be careful not to, submit proposals that are duplicating those efforts. So just a couple examples that I grabbed from the proposal just to give you an idea. And I tried to focus on language that was directly provided by the working groups in the RMAG. So for AM repairs for sustainment, a couple things that were specifically mentioned from the working groups was one of the big ones was bring process to part or on-site repair in the field. And I know on the DoD side, that's of huge interest as well. Because that's you just get into all kind of logistics and complications that can be alleviated or just taken out of the equation if you can actually just repair something on site, relatively in a feasible manner. Identifying materials that are a good fit for specific instances. So a couple examples are mating of materials and wear applications, but keeping in mind the original use, application, performance of the part. So that's what that bullet is kind of talking about. And then define and develop techniques for repairing either or both traditionally manufactured parts and then also AM produced parts. But traditionally manufactured parts would probably be a little easier in this case since it's focused on sustainment and repair of existing parts that have already went through qualification and been out in the field and used. So topic 2, beam shaping. So one of the things that, or I guess a few things to keep in mind, but I want to make sure I mention it because I don't know if I capture it's in the RFP, but um, to make note of um, some of the potential benefits of using beam shaping. So some of them are listed here for like improved material, maybe. So less porosity or keyholing or, reduce residual stress potentially, improve part density or surface finish, and then maybe improve productivity, quality, or consistency. But looking at the productivity, the print speed. So looking at it, can this, which I think a lot of people say it can, but you know, we want to prove that out is of improving build speed and by how much and how does that tie into the material quality and different things like that. And then I'm pretty sure, yeah, America Makes has a project that's doing some work on the ring laser, I believe. Might be just finishing up, or I know it's started. Um, so could potentially leverage some information from that project as well. But it doesn't have to be a ring laser. It could be any kind of beam shaping, really. So this is going to be more of a, I don't want to say exploratory, but kind of. But with the end in mind of at some point, not on this project, but we want to keep in mind that whatever process you're developing for whatever beam shape type, that it's not, hopefully not vendor locked or some sort of special technology necessarily, unless it has to be. But also it could be qualified at some point. Not, I'm assuming not on this project, but um, down the road, keeping that in mind that whatever processing that is discovered or benefits that are yielded from these projects that it has to tie into qualification at some point. Um, so looking at and a couple other things, looking at materials that are currently difficult to print with Gaussian profile or single point. Can the beam shaping help with printing any of those materials? And then any benefits and repeatability or consistency. Um, and then also just to note again on the make sure to capture some sort of complex geometry or a demo part would be good. to see how that correlates to complex geometries and the thermal gradient, how that's affected, and different things like that. So a couple technical approaches mentioned from the RFP in this. There's many others that are possibilities, but some specific ones that were mentioned by the working groups. So investigate the increasing adoption of beam shaping among OEMs and its impact on these three things here. So overcoming control command limitations, material and microstructure control, and then varying laser profiles. Um, and then projects will outline methods to relate results to varying part geometries. So looking at the schedule, so this is laid out in the beginning of the RFP. We moved a lot of this information in the front end of these over the last year or so, but project call went out a week ago, so May 20th. Questions are due June 3rd, and then the proposals are due July 15th. And you can see some other pertinent dates in there as well. So if we look at the funding breakdown, so this one is a little different. So ordinarily our open project, we didn't call this an open project call because it's not technically, it's very similar, but it's a little different. So the funding amount is kind of the same, around 400,000 or 500,000 or so. So we got one anticipated award for topic one anticipated award for topic two, each with a funding amount of 460,000 with 50% cost share. The thing that's different is the period of performance. Usually it's around like 6 months or a little longer, but they're usually quick turns. This is more of a traditional time length. So 21 months total, 18 months for execution for technical portion, and then 3 months for reporting. Shorter periods are fine, but that's the max duration for each topic. And then getting into some of the eligibility. So this is for topic one only. So we've been putting in more and more language about cognitive engineering authority, or authority over relevant component, basically like design authority over a part. And we're trying to leverage that more to help us with transition and qualification complications that always come up. So we want to keep that in the forefront. But this is only going to be relevant to topic one. Topic two, this is not going to be a requirement for teams to have this in there. But for topic one, it will. So, we are going to want you to have a CEA on your team for a part, either hopefully an actual part, but even if it's a very close representative part, as long as the CEA is okay with it, it doesn't, that's the main thing. So then when you go through your repair process, any post-processing requirements, inspection, and qualification, that it's all in alignment with an existing part, or someone that's oversees that. So if we look at membership eligibility, the lead proposer must be a current member of America Makes, and they need to be paid in full by July 2nd of this year. And then there's some links there on how to join if you're not already a member. And then the 50% cost share. And then a note here, cost share accrued in this project may also be applied towards membership as with other project calls. And then there's however, but that's getting into some of the nitty gritty that I won't go over right now. And I don't, probably not that familiar enough to do that anyway. So here's just some general language that we have in all of our calls. Keep in mind the countries that are prohibited from participating on the project teams. And then if you have any work being done outside of the US, just make sure that you're ready to report that up front and, have a justification for it. So looking at deliverables and reporting. So within the RFP, there's a table of minimum deliverables. This is going to be in section 2.4, starting on page 17. And then there's a list of reporting requirements also. This is in section 4.3. That starts on page 33 of the RFP. And then if we look at the evaluation criteria for each one of these topics, it's going to be pretty typical to what we usually have. So
Where's the big bounds again, buddy?
technical approach and methodology is going to be worth 30%. Data management plan is going to be 20%. Technology dissemination to America Makes and the DoD is going to be 30%. And then program management approach is going to be 20%. So just a note, we've been doing this on the last few project calls, the data management plan. I think it was 10% last year on some of the calls. I can't remember, but now it's 20%. And we've talked about, making that more and more, mainly due to, creating, not only having, pertinent data that's useful to the membership, but tracking it and going through that data management process to make sure that the data that goes in core is usable from our membership. And that's, one of the many things we're currently doing, trying to improve that. Here's some information on proposal and contracting information. Pretty typical. And now we're on to the questions.
John, can you hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. All right, we've got two questions so far. Ollie has the question, there is a requirement that at least one of the entities for topic one must be a CEA or a design authority. I was wondering what documentations are required to show this, and it somewhat aligns with the other question of, is there a formal process to qualify as a CEA/LSI?
Great questions. Let me look in the RFP. Because yeah, this is something too that we've been working on trying to effectively communicate without being too restrictive.
Yeah, maybe John, if you want to go to the section that explains, what a CEA LSI is and point them to that page.
Yes. So if you go to page 21 in the RFP, and actually, let me just try and bring that up.
Thank you.
All right, so this is what it'll say here as far as the definition. So cognitive engineering authority definition, we have that as CEA means the entity controls the intellectual property, data, and associated engineering expertise relating to the design intent, technical adequacy, and form, fit, and function requirements of a defense-related component. CEA shall be able to independently and readily qualify the entire manufacturing process, all steps of which are all steps of a manufacturing workflow, including testing and inspection, to deem a material, process, and component qualified. This includes retaining knowledge and understanding of all necessary specifications and standards by which a component shall be manufactured. And then the language we have in there for lead system integrator or an LSI, which I'm not sure if there's language in here about that or not, or well, there is, I guess. LSI with system responsibility means a prime contractor for the development or production of a major system. So one example that's often given is a chief engineer, if you want to think of like a tangible example, but basically it's somebody on the design side of a part that is going to be able to sign off on adopting a new manufacturing process to either make that part or make, in this case, make repairs to that part. Um, so hopefully that answered that question.
That's on page 21 of the RFP, just so all are aware.
Yeah, that's page 21.
Perfect. Thank you, John and Ben. The next question that I've got here is for novel beam shaping methods. Are we obligated to disclose details on the technology used for the beam shaping? In parentheses, assuming this is pre-existing technology.
I don't know. I'm pretty sure there's an answer for that, but I'm not sure what it is.
Yeah, so I think we'll follow up on this one. Sometimes, if we can't answer them on the call, we will, but let's write this one down and we'll come back to it and post an answer. Typically, if there's background IP, if it's IP related, there's an exhibit where you disclose background IP. So I think, Chris, to answer that question is, if it is background IP or pre-existing technology, you'd want to disclose that if it's your company's IP. But to get more specific answers to your question, we'll follow up with it. Do you agree, John?
Yes, that was pretty much what I was trying to think in my head of how to say that. But yeah, that's the background IP. Yep.
Perfect. One moment. And the next question we have is, can we go to topic 2 with a different technology from laser powder bed? For example, with high power laser for laser powder DD.
I don't. I mean, if it doesn't have beam, if you're not manipulating the shape of the beam, then I would say no. But there is language in the RFP that it is more geared towards laser powder bed fusion. I don't think it was explicitly stated that you're going to be automatically disqualified if you submit a proposal that's DD, but if it would have to be more than just like a high powered laser. It would have to involve manipulating the energy profile of the beam as far as how it's spaced out.
Yeah, I think this is another one as well. We'll align with our government stakeholders just to make sure if their priority is for laser powder bed fusion only, or if DED would be okay. I think you answered it well, John, is regardless, the focus is manipulating the shape of the beam. But let's confirm with the DoD stakeholders on the laser powder bed fusion.
Perfect. Yeah. Next question is for novel beam shaping. Are there any specific materials of interest?
No, for this one, no. But yeah, anything that's going to be relevant to DoD applications would be. But as far as any material that was specifically mentioned within the JAMWIG or the RMAG, no specific materials came up for that. So yeah, I mean like Inconel or titanium. I don't know about GR COP for DoD. I mean, I know it's definitely a relevant material, and potentially, I'm sure it is for DoD, depending on the application. But but yeah, I mean, it could really be anything as long as it's, I would just be able to make sure that whatever material you choose, or if it's a couple different materials, that you would be able to, paint a pretty good picture of how it's going to benefit some sort of application, um, for Department of Defense. At some point, it doesn't have to be an actual part or anything necessarily now, but just be able to tie that in.
Gotcha. Thanks, John. Yeah,
Mhm.
next question we have is a little bit of a longer one, so hold on. Given that prior American Makes projects have addressed castings and forgings and considering topic one's explicit guidance to avoid duplicative efforts, would a proposed effort that addresses the repair of forged components using wire-based DED additive manufacturing, particularly in conjunction with robotic arm applications, still be considered responsive under topic one? Our intent is to meet a newly identified operational need focused specifically on field repair workflows and qualification of process parameters for forged part restoration, which we believe aligns with the scope, but would like clarification on whether this represents a sufficient differentiation from prior casting and forging initiatives.
No, I think that's fine as long as I'm remembering correctly. The Yeah, the prior projects for that was more for augmenting the casting and forging process. So I want to say any of the projects that we had were either for tooling manufacturing or tooling repair or adding features to parts that would be made with, say, a forging. So in this case, if you're just talking about repairing a part, whether it's cast forged, it doesn't really matter as long as it's focused on repairing a part and not repairing tooling or anything like that. And I guess when I say a part that would be used on a defense platform, not a part that's used in a manufacturing process.
Gotcha. Ben, do you have anything to add, or are we good to move on?
I think John answered it well. Yeah, and for those that are on the call, typically there's a date, I think it's June 10th. We'll post the answers to all these questions online. So just for those on the call that are seeking more answers, or maybe you want to submit a more formal question, we encourage you. There is a deadline of June 3rd to submit any additional remaining questions. So if you don't ask a question today, but something else comes up, make sure you go online and submit that question.
Perfect. Thank you, Ben. Next question is the 460K the funding limit from America Makes? I assume the amount doesn't include the 50% member cost share, i.e. 460 plus 230 is 690 total project budget. So I think they're asking, is the project funding 460K?
Yep.
Yep. Thought that was correct. Next question, can we present a bottom-up approach that fits one of the topics, or should we respond to a specific need of stakeholders? In this case, how do we align the project with the stakeholders' needs/interests?
Well, I guess that depends on what so topic one, you're going to want a CEA. So that's gonna dovetail with whatever part you're looking at repairing and trying to go through that qualification process, to validate that repair, that it's basically up to standards to be adopted or close to it. For topic two, that can be, that's more broad. I would say you could go either way. You could focus on a part that you're trying to, um, make the case for, or a part family or a specific application that beam shaping would be, specifically beneficial for, or, unlock, or I guess, yeah, unlock capabilities that weren't otherwise there, or, getting through barriers using the beam shaping. Or you can just demonstrate that you've developed some very highly stable, repeatable processes, that have some significant benefit in something, hopefully like production speed, but maybe it's, material quality, or, defect, reduction in porosity or defect or something like that. But trying to come up with kind of like a robust set of process parameters that is repeatable and other people would be able to do it as well.
John, I was going to ask, could you share your the slides again? I think there's a slide that explains the dissemination to the DoD. So there's a section in the RFP, but if you pull your slides up again, John, we can point them to that. I think it's maybe slide 9, the percentages. Scroll up a little more. It's where it shows the like program, the actual scoring percentages per section.
Oh, I gotcha.
Okay, this one's 16. If you go full screen on this, just to answer that question though, I want to make sure that there is a, 30% of the score is, impact to the DoD. So I think whatever your submission is, that should be considered, and it's a large portion of your score.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Fantastic. All right. We've got another question in here. So, is there any preferred component to repair provided by the defense stakeholder for topic 1? Also, let us know if there's any specific material to repair of interest for topic 1.
We'll bring that question to our DoD stakeholders. I'm sure there's, an answer they can provide, but from just a short answer now, from what I'm aware of, there's a lot of components. But yeah, it's good to get some examples if they could provide anything specific, so we could bring this question to them as well.
Perfect. Thank you. And if you aren't submitting any questions, or you have any questions that come up in the future, Ben put it in the chat here, but you have until June 3rd to submit that question. And is that also, are those questions submitted on the webpage or to the email there, Ben?
Sorry, I was on mute. The email that's provided, that's where the questions should be submitted. And as long as they're submitted by June 3rd, June 10th is the answer date when the answers will be posted to the website.
Perfect. One thing I'd like to bring up for everybody, just for those that are interested in possibly meeting other partners for this project, John, if you wanted to pull up the project call page, there's a teaming form that you can fill out to find potential partners for this project. If you go in there, you can fill out information about what you are interested in doing and what you might be interested in a partner doing for the project. And as a member, you'll be able to go in and look at all of the responses. So, yep, they're on the right side of that screen up there, John. You'll see the team up button. and you can click that and it'll pull up a little informational form for your contact and capabilities essentially for this project and submit that. Within the member portal, you'll actually see a line in the benefits tab that will take you to the teaming tool, and that will give you an opportunity to download all of the responses that have been made. And that is for members exclusively. And if you have any questions with that, feel free to reach out to me, Zane, as well. So, if that's all the questions we have, then I appreciate everybody's time today, and I will stay on for the next couple minutes in case we have anybody that has a question before we wrap up. But thanks everybody for coming, and look forward to having everybody fill out their responses. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks all.
Thanks. Yeah, Nick, go ahead.
Yeah, hey Zane, and hey Ben, good to see you guys on the call here. Yeah, question kind of relates over to I think what was posted in the chat earlier, relating to whether or not it was going to be powder bed fusion as part of topic one. I didn't see it anywhere in the calling message whether it's going to be there, and I understand that the answers will get posted kind of mid-June as to whether or not that it's going to be kind of have the focus of scope, whether it's going to be powder bed fusion systems or whether or not we would be able to work wired DED. And I know that it's going to be direct for a defense application that we're looking to partner with one of our partners coming to the table. Very, very unique in how we're approaching this methodology for repair of casting and forging. And yeah, really excited to see how this one's going to go. But if you guys have any inclination whether or not it is going to be DED, or if we can propose a DED opportunity versus a powder bed fusion, would hope to know sooner rather than later. Over to you guys.
Thanks, Nick.
Yeah, thanks, Nick. Yeah, we typically stick to the question timeline that we provide in the project call, just to be fair for everyone that is submitting. If you have more explicit questions that come out after today, I just, again, encourage you to submit those questions specifically to the project call email. I know I sound kind of, generic or robotic with my response, but, once the project call is live, we try to just, stick to the facts of what are the call and, try to answer them as clearly and cleanly as possible. So again, if you have more explicit questions that come through, submit them to the project call and they'll get posted on that June 10th date. So appreciate you bringing that to our attention, though.
Yeah. Thanks, Ben. And Thierry, go ahead.
Yeah, first, I put that in the chat about the question about beam shaping. It's only me here talking, but I think if you have keyhole effect during DED, you might be in trouble here for the application. So it looks more like a welding process than deep welding penetration process than a deposition process. So, okay, parentheses. So most likely, I think it would be more like powder bed fusion instead of DED, but that's my opinion here on that. All right, so my question here, I went on the website here and I put my name, my name I did on the team up stuff, on the project.
Yep.
Okay, so how it's gonna work actually, physically? I have some interest to get involved with that, but you're gonna take all the list of people willing to be involved in the project and put them all together, or how it's gonna work?
Yeah, so what I'm going to do is there will be a posting on the portal that will direct you to how to get to those sharing or the page that has all of the people that have submitted. And then you bring up a good point that might not be the most people might not find that. So it would probably be good to add a note to send an email out maybe at the end of each week to the list of folks who have submitted. So I will add that to my list of things to do
Yeah, that would be nice to have
with
an email.
instructions. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, would be nice to have an email because, and maybe, I mean, I'm pretty sure people are going to put some details here about their capability and what they are looking for the project that will help to connect the dots to on that part. I mean, in regards of partnership and bringing the right people around the table. That's my my point here on
Yeah.
that part.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
any so talking about partnership and universities or academic or this stuff. So I guess all the people, even in academia, needs to be members of the organization, correct? University, they need to be member of American Makes or
So
or
there's specific eligibility requirements, Terry,
uh-huh.
in the RFP. And let me share the screen here so you can see this. Where we call out the lead proposer must be America Makes member paid in full by the date provided.
Okay, that's okay. Okay.
But it's not
That's it.
explicit to say that everyone has to be a America Makes member, but the lead proposer must
Or the
be.
lead proposal.
And
Okay.
then in order for people, and John Martin, if I missay this, but in order for people to receive federal funding, they also need to be an America Makes member. Is that correct, John?
That is usually the case from my perspective, Ben.
Yeah.
If they're directly receiving federal funding.
Yeah.
Okay. Very good. And
Yeah, so
the option
Terry-
to be a lead proposer, or what is the name of the other one? Can't remember now. Partner, it's that can still evolve depending of people willing to participate in the program. Correct?
I didn't understand the question.
Yeah, I mean, if you feel that at the beginning when you meet all the people and all this stuff and you still have the choice, or the group needs to decide who is going to be the lead or not for the program, or how it's going to work. It's still clear like mud, I guess. Okay.
I would just, yeah, maybe if you think of it, maybe just submit the question and we'll try to answer it. But with
Yeah.
the team or the teaming thing that Zane has talked about, I'll leave that to Zane to answer on how that, but typically it's up to the teams and the people that are submitting to
Okay.
organize their team. We do our best in the RFP to outline the requirements and, as mentioned, if you refer to the eligibility section, that typically covers most of the requirements for that.
Yeah, and Thierry, if I'm interpreting your question correctly, I went ahead and took a little screenshot and put it in the chat, but I believe you're asking how you determine who wants to be a lead organization and who would be a subcontractor using that teaming platform. And one of the questions explicitly asks if you are intending to be a lead organization or you are looking to be a subcontractor.
And as Ben also iterated, it's open to discussion for you.
Okay.
This platform isn't something that America Makes is necessarily going to use as we won't be matchmaking anybody. We want to remain unbiased as we can, but we also want to provide you a platform where you can connect with one another. So that's kind of the purpose behind it.
Fine, that's good for me. Thank you.
Hi, Zin. This is Saugata Roy from Iowa State, and currently we're becoming a member for America Makes because we are growing our advanced manufacturing area. So I'm just wondering for this application criteria, is it the same person can submit one proposal as a lead and then he can be co-PI in other teams? Is it possible, or there is some restriction that only one proposal should be submitted by a single person or single university?
I'll let John, Ben, you guys want to jump on that?
Yeah, I can share the screen. So I think it's in the executive summary. Proposers are welcome to submit multiple proposals. Each proposal is limited to addressing one topic area.
Okay, so there is no such restriction on that. Okay, and for the topic one, I think I read somewhere it was mentioned either DED based or cold spray based. Is there any kind of preference? Because you are going to fund only one, so is it like going to be selected based on whichever the project looks great, that's based on that, or like?
I mean, John, do you want to answer? I was going to point him to the criteria for selecting the proposals, but John, if you want to answer it, I'll let you answer it.
Sure. Sorry.
The evaluation criteria that's in the, I don't know, Sugata, if you've opened the RFP or downloaded it yet, but there's a section that talks about evaluation criteria.
Okay, but there is no such preference about whether some team is focusing on either DED or cold spray, right? Both are fine.
Yeah, both are fine.
Okay. Sounds good. Thanks a lot.
Yep. Thank you. John, Ben, this is my first time working on one of these. Is this recording generally shared back, or is it best to look for the official submitted answers?
So this recording is, yeah, these recordings for the industry day are always posted to the website on the project call, under the project call. Usually I think Michelle posts them within 24 hours.
Perfect. Thank you, Ben.
A last question for me. We were involved a while ago on a project, and actually that was around one technology, and we did have multiple industry participating as subcontractors and proposing the application. Is that still something possible? Like having, I don't know, pick some names. One company from heavy industry, one company for aerospace, and working on one particular technology, or is it only one proposal for one kind of repair? No answer.
Terry, are you saying like you're only limited to one type of repair technology per proposal?
No, I'm asking, do you have multiple partners or multiple subcontractors from different industries? Or it has to be only one industry or one project for one part, or that kind of thing.
I mean, you could probably have multiple, but then I feel like you're still going to need that CEA requirement. So for at least one, I would say. So
Yeah, I
then if
think-
you had others on there, I mean, I don't think that would hurt anything.
Okay.
Yeah, I think this gets into the relation of the question of dual use, and this question was asked in our recent project call. And we went back to the government stakeholders and asked them about this, Terry. So I would just encourage you on this one, if this is indeed a question, and we can write it down as they answered this, like basically about dual use. So we had kind of specific language that answered this question. So I guess Zane and John and Terry, we can document this and we can put an answer by June 10th. But basically, if it was a dual use technology, meaning it wasn't DoD, but it was a adjacent industry, the proposers were encouraged to explain how it had relevancy or relationship to the application or the DoD. So we can document this and put the official answer again, if that is the same answer from them. But we will we'll get back to you on that one.
Okay. Good enough. Thank you. Goodbye.
Yeah, sorry, John. That
Perfect.
one
Thanks,
just
Jared.
it came up last time, John. So John Martin, I wanted to mention that.
Yeah, no, that's good.
Perfect. All right. Logan, Elliot, is there anything from your guys' end before we close this out? It is top of the hour, so if there's anything else, feel free to reach out.
No,
Thank you,
yep,
Logan.
thank you. I'm downloading everything right now, so appreciate it.
Perfect. Thank you, Elliot. Thank you, Logan. Thank you, John. Thank you, Ben. If anybody needs anything, feel free to reach out to projectcall@americanmakes.us, and have a good rest of your day, everybody.
All right, thank you, everyone.
Thanks all.
Thanks.